Hello everyone. Today we are having a talk with Ambassador of United States to Turkmenistan, Mr. Matthew Klimow. Mr. Ambassador, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here.
How are you today?
I am fine, and I've been looking forward to the chance and the opportunity to talk to you for a long time.
Thank you, I appreciate it. My first question is about your language spoken. Do you speak any other languages than English?
Well, it's a good question based on my name, which obviously has a Slavic root. My parents spoke Russian, Slovak, Polish. They could read German newspapers. But I came up in a generation of Americans where the parents really believed that they wanted their children to be totally immersed in the American culture. So unfortunately, I never learned a foreign language as a young boy. I did study Spanish in university at West Point, the military academy I attended. Later learned French as a diplomat at the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in Brussels. So I have some French, a little Spanish, and I am studying Turkmen. So I have a tutor. I find Turkmen fascinating. I'm a little too shy to use some phrases today, but hopefully as I progress in my tour here, I'll be able to at least speak some socially Turkmen and engage with the local populace.
Mm-hmm. Great. As we say, inshallah. Yes. What about Russian? Do you understand Russian?
I'm afraid I don't. And I had a choice. As I approached my assignment here, whether to devote my time to studying Russian or Turkmen. And I felt, and I still believe, that out of respect for the host nation, where I currently serve, Turkmen would be the logical choice. And I've already been able to, in the market, do some pleasantries and use Turkmen. So I'm confident that that will progress.
Okay, let's talk about your military past. You have served in the US Army for almost 30 years, and I'm sure that you have seen many interesting things during this time. Can you please tell a memorable and bright story from your military past?
I've had a great many positive experiences as a soldier. I am a combat veteran, and I've faced the hardship of separation from my family and the hardships of combat. So I understand what that means to any soldier in any country. But also, there were uplifting moments, and there were times when I felt I was using my abilities and talents to its fullest extent. I was an old paratrooper. I commanded a brigade of almost 2,000 paratroopers. And I think jumping out of an airplane isn't the point of being a paratrooper. I often say to people that I didn't like to jump out of airplanes, but I loved being with people who did jump out of airplanes because the camaraderie is so great. And I think being a paratrooper is my greatest experience.
So you are a professional paratrooper, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I think there are some levels, yes, that paratroopers have, like fresher, professional, or
senior jump master. I didn't count myself in the senior levels, but I was always the first one out the door when I was jumping with my troops.
So how many times have you jumped?
Almost 30 times, which in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I served, is not very much. But every jump I remember well. There were some thrilling moments in the air, I can tell you that.
So what was the highest point you have jumped from airplane?
Well, people don't realize that for a standard military jump, you jump fairly close to the ground, sometimes as low as 800 feet, because you're preparing for combat. And in combat, you don't want to be hanging in the air in your parachute. You want to get on the ground and then get on with the mission.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about one of your missions. I know that you have been awarded a Silver Star Medal, yes, for the courage in Gulf War, 1991, right?
That's correct.
Could you please tell more detailed about this medal and what feat did you were you awarded for?
Well, thank you for the question, and please allow me to politely demur from talking about what I personally did in combat. Let me just talk about the soldiers I served with.
Yes, please.
They were just average Americans, like my father was in World War II, when he fought in the German theater of, or the European theater of war against the Nazis. And he was at the Battle of the Bulge, which was one of the pinnacle battles for the American forces in the theater of war. And when I was serving in combat overseas, I usually thought about my dad, my father, who was a very simple man, did not even graduate from high school, so he was not formally educated, but he was a wonderful, wonderful person, and he served his country well. And the young soldiers I served with were the real heroes. They were just tremendous. Not only fearless, but they espoused the values of America as soldiers. They were thoughtful, they were careful, they had a warrior spirit, but they also carried the spirit of America in them, which was a belief that what they fought for was right, reflected democratic values, and that the liberation of Kuwait, in the case of the battle that I fought in, was extremely important, not just for America, but for all of the world.
Mm-hmm. Your spouse, Mrs. Edie Gunnels,
yes.
She's a retired military nurse, right?
That's correct. She's a retired Army nurse.
Yeah. And I assume that you must have a very romantic story of dating. Can you please tell how you met?
I'm fond of telling that story. We were both soldiers stationed in Germany during the Cold War. In fact, I could remember having served on the West German, East German border, which is hard to believe even existed. Things have progressed so well since then. And I had heard that there was a new, pretty Army nurse in town, and I was determined to meet her. So I made sure that we bumped into each other, and I was trying to think on my feet, how could I impress this pretty nurse? And I'm a runner. That's one of my great passions. So on our first date, I invited her to go for a run. I was lucky she said, why not? And so we ran through the beautiful German forests, and I think that was the spark for our love, which has gone on for many years now.
Mm-hmm. Great. You told me before that you are still running, yes, in the park opposite to your house now in Ashgabat.
I run in many places across Ashgabat.
What's your favorite place for running?
Independence Park. I do like to go towards the Kopet Mountains and some of the dirt trails. Once in a while I'm on the health walk with some of my friends. The health walk's a challenge. I love it. It is breathtaking. It's one of the gems of Ashgabat.
So what about Mrs. Gunnels?
No, I can't get her on
Is she still running?
No. We go for walks.
Great. Your son, Daniel, he works as a lawyer in the Department of State now.
Yes, thank you for asking.
And have you ever wanted him to be a military man like you? Why didn't he follow his parents' footsteps?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I think that reflects a little bit of a typical American attitude, which is you want your children to make their decisions. And I was careful about, I tried to be careful about how I would influence his decisions in life. I think there's a point in time when you realize as a parent that you have to let your daughter or son go out into the world and find their way. So he chose his path. He chose law for for a profession, to be an attorney. He fought very hard to get a position at the State Department, which is very difficult to do. I had nothing to do with that. I was flattered that he wanted to follow in my footsteps in that regard. He's a wonderful young man, now a family man. We have a granddaughter. His beautiful wife, Beth, gave birth to a daughter, Anastasia.
How old is she?
She's just over 3 months old.
Wow.
So Anastasia Klimow, beautiful name. And I had the opportunity to hold her in my arms just over a week ago.
You must be missing her.
I miss her. I do indeed. I will bring her to Ashgabat. We'll move heaven and earth to make sure that she visits before I leave.
Yes. Please tell about Turkmen-American cooperation, relationship, since you came here to Turkmenistan last year. What happened in this half year?
When you think about the mission or the purpose of having an ambassador in a country representing his or her nation, the bilateral relationship is really the crux of why we have this system of ambassadors, chiefs of mission serving overseas. I have to say that the most satisfying moments in my time here, and I arrived at the end of June in 2019, has been working with my counterparts and with the officials in the government of Turkmenistan. They have been warm in their reception. I signaled to them that I believe, and I still do, that the first job of a good diplomat is to listen and to understand the views of the host nation. And for my first 6 months on the job, that's what I've sought to do. And I think because I have sought to learn and listen and not to quickly rush into offering my thoughts and opinions about things, that's put our relationship on a good start. I have exchanged my views, both at unofficial level and at the higher reaches of government. I had a wonderful conversation with His Excellency President Berdimuhammedov when I first arrived, and I've since had the opportunity to chat with him on 2 or 3 other occasions. I meet regularly with Foreign Minister Muradov. We have a very good working relationship. I like to use American aphorisms with him, American proverbs and sayings. We have a saying in America that if you pick up the phone, you want someone to answer on the other end, which is a way of saying that if you have a good relationship and you need to talk to someone, they'll respond to you. And I feel that I have that relationship with the foreign minister and with other cabinet ministers. If there's some pressing need and I need to make a call to them, whether that's on the phone or through a diplomatic note, as we usually use in all of our diplomatic missions, I know I will get a response. I'll know they'll be receptive to what I have to say. And they know that I will listen attentively and patiently to what they have to say. And that's the formation and the basis of any good relationship.
Mm-hmm. We have many young viewers, and I want to talk about educational programs, American. There are many education programs, American here for Turkmen youth. By the way, one of them we're working together with JA Worldwide.
Very good.
Thanks to that program, I've assembled my team that you see there.
They're impressive people. I've met them.
Yes, thank you. And I wanted you to tell any maybe new programs, educational programs for young people, for youth you have here.
We have a variety of programs. And they start with even high school students. Our Future Leader Exchange Program, commonly called FLEX, I think is one of the flagship programs that we offer. And this includes 1 year of living in the United States and attending high school in the United States. I've met many graduates of the FLEX program. They are impressive people. They came back to Turkmenistan with fresh ideas, with energy and I think a vibrancy to use some of the things that they learned in America here in Turkmenistan. And that's really why we have exchange programs. On the other end of the scale, we have Fulbright programs, which include those who want to study in the United States at the master's degree level. So university graduates, this would be a postgraduate degree. It's a golden opportunity when you think about the quality of higher level education in the United States of America, in the university system that we have. And there are several programs in between. Some of them are as short as a week. Many of our exchange programs are 2 or 3 weeks, a few months. And we could tailor programs based on the requests and the desires of people. I think this is one of the hallmarks of a healthy bilateral relationship, that two nations exchange not only ideas, but we exchange people. The United States sends some of its best and brightest, and you can find them in the U.S. Embassy, my colleagues I work with. We welcome with open arms Turkmen scholars, Turkmen university students, and even young people to come to the United States in a formal program to be exposed to our culture, some of the high-tech ideas in the technology world that they could take back and use here.
Approximately how many young people visiting U.S. using these programs? FLEX and higher education, post-graduation?
But right now we count approximately 2,500 alumni who have participated in exchanges back to the United States. So as you can see, it's a robust program. We count it as one of our most important outreach to the people of Turkmenistan. And one of my goals as ambassador is to expand on some of those programs and to give everyone an opportunity to compete for some of those important slots.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about new strategy of U.S. In Central Asia. What's this? I've heard many times about this. Can you please tell more detailed about this? And also about C5+1 format. What's this? And what role do you think Turkmenistan has in this format, C5+1?
Well, these are very important questions, and I welcome the opportunity to address them with you. The United States of America recently released the Central Asia strategy, and I could summarize this quite easily because there are 3 main points. First, it reinforces the very words I used upon my arrival here in June. The United States is totally committed to the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Turkmenistan. Those were my words. The Central Asia strategy says exactly the same thing about Central Asia as a region. The United States is committed to Central Asia and the countries of Central Asia in their sense of sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. The second main point of this strategy is that the United States views Central Asia as a very important geopolitical region in and of itself. And I say that because I believe that in recent years, some people mistakenly thought that our interest here was based on our deep commitment to Afghanistan. Well, that's simply not true. We do have a deep commitment to Afghanistan, which will continue. But we look at Central Asia as an important entity and region in and of itself, a place where we want to do trade and business, which leads to the third point, which is in the strategy, which is our close connection and our desire to expand our connections with Central Asia. I'm fond of saying to people, or asking people, what do you think the business of America is? And I pause and wait for an answer, and They're not sure what to say. Well, the business of America is business. We are business people. And when you look at Central Asia, and particularly Turkmenistan, and your centuries-old tradition of trading on the Silk Road, I think there's a great connection there. We want to do business in Central Asia. We want to do business in Turkmenistan. And I'm always looking for opportunities to introduce American businessmen to opportunities in Turkmenistan and to expose business people in Turkmenistan to what we have to offer in the United States. So this idea of economics and trade is embedded in the Central Asia strategy. But there's an important nuance to this. In this Central Asian strategy, we make it very clear that the United States of America believes that the Central Asian countries, to include Turkmenistan, should have the choice and should be able to choose on their own terms who they wish to trade with, who they wish to turn to for training, for security arrangements, and for advice and counsel, without anybody implying or telling them which direction to turn in. So that goes right back to the first point I made about sovereignty and independence. We seek a prosperous, free, and secure Central Asia. And the United States and I, as an ambassador to one of the Central Asian countries, will do what we can to assist in that regard. You mentioned also this concept of C5+1, which is probably a foreign term to most of your viewers. The C5 part is just a way of saying the 5 Central Asian states, which include Turkmenistan. And the +1 is the United States of America. We have met now in the C5+1 arrangement twice in the past 6 months at the foreign minister level, which is quite astounding. So my big boss, Secretary of State Pompeo, has met now with the foreign ministers of the Central Asian states twice in the past 6 months on the full range in all the spheres of importance, to include security, economics, and the human dimension as well, to talk about democracy and freedoms, human rights, issues that are dear to Americans. And I believe that the C5+1 format has become a rallying point now for bringing together like-minded countries where we can discuss with mutual respect difficult issues, not just issues like trade, but some of the difficult issues in terms of security that are part and parcel of this region that connects Europe and all of Asia.
How do you think the future will be for Central Asia in, let's say, 10 or 15 years? How do you see it here in this region?
It's a very good question, by the way. I think this is a time of growth and expansion and optimism in many of those spheres that I mentioned. As I just said, Central Asia is special, not just to the United States, but it's special in terms of it's truly one of the few places in the world where you could see 2 continents come together, Asia and Europe. And that covers so much, not just geography, but culture, geopolitical stresses and challenges. And because Turkmenistan is in the center of all of this, I think there's opportunities as well as risks, of course. But the opportunities for economic expansion, for exchanging ideas, for raising the economic opportunities for young people, studying at universities here in Turkmenistan, studying in universities abroad, I'm optimistic. My wife and I have now traveled to all 5 provinces, all 5 vilayats, multiple times. One of the things that strike me is how vibrant the societies are. The cities outside of Ashgabat are just as active and exciting as it is here in the capital city. The entrepreneurs and business people I meet are absolutely as ambitious and optimistic as any I've met anywhere in the world. The young people I meet at the American corners are looking for ways to better themselves and to prepare themselves for the future, whether that be at university or starting a business. Those are signs of optimism to me. So I think this is a time where we'll see some of those opportunities come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. A few minutes ago you were talking about trade, about business, and you know that Turkmenistan is working on diversifying energy resources exports these years, and I'm interested, how do you assess the prospects of TAPI project?
We, the United States of America, have always expressed our support for TAPI, the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline project. I believe, and I know our government believes, that it can be transformational. Turkmenistan sits on, I believe, the 4th largest gas reserves in the world. India growing tremendously. Pakistan hungry for energy sources. Afghanistan becoming hopefully a stable country where they can look to the future, and they will need those energy resources. So it makes sense for Turkmenistan to look in that direction. But I also have been a proponent for diversification. Europe, Western Europe, hungry for energy. It makes sense to look to the west as well as to the east. I think there's real potential for selling gas to the European countries. It will take some doing, but why not look in that direction as well? And that gives you increased options. So I think, as you indicated, diversification is something that definitely should be considered.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And yes, we are finalizing our official part of interview. And the last question is, what's the main role, the main mission of United States in modern world today?
Wow, what a far-reaching question. Let me start by answering it this way. I arrived in Turkmenistan at the very end of June, and one of the great privileges I had, when figuratively I walked off the plane, was to host our Independence Day celebration, which is the 4th of July every year. Our independence, the independence of the United States of America, is enshrined in one simple document. It's the Declaration of Independence. And in that document, it describes the values that we embrace as Americans. And I think, to answer your question, what is America's place in the world, you go back to first principles. What does America represent? Not only when I look at that document, what does America represent to me when I think about my granddaughter and my family, but let's face it, America is one of the key countries in the world. People look to us. They look to us for our values. They look to us for the future direction of their own countries. They wonder where we will put our energy and our focus and our economic might. It all goes back to values. We're a values-based society. I will never stop talking about those values as an ambassador and as a private citizen because they define who we are. So I think as long as America is rooted in that basic document, the Declaration of Independence, you'll always know where we stand. And there may be little twists and turns in history as we go down the road, but that's our North Star. That's our guiding principle, and you can count on that.
What about your plans for this year, for 2000?
Thank you for asking. As I mentioned, I've now visited all 5 vilayets, most of them twice. I'll get back to Dashagus. That will be my second trip up there. I want to travel, not overseas. I want to travel in Turkmenistan. I want to meet the people. I want to engage on a one-to-one level. I have no background in business, but I have found one of the most exciting parts of my job as ambassador is engaging with business people, because they are the future of this country, and they're excited about their prospects, and I want to help them because I think America has a lot to offer. I'll never tire of talking to young people in the American corners, in Turkmenabad and Mari and in Dashagus, and the American Center here in Ashgabat offer an opportunity to sample American culture. I speak there frequently, and I'm eager to hear what young people have to say about their futures, and it gives me ideas about how America and the United States can help. As I said before, on a more serious topic, we believe as Americans that every country should choose its own path. But we are a wealthy nation, and we want to help where we can, and we'll offer that help in ways that I think are productive and healthy and mutually productive for any country that's interested in engaging with us.
Okay, thank you. The official part of our interview is over now. Now we'll go on with blitz questions.
Boy, okay.
Yes, short questions. They're more concerning your personality.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, let's start. Your favorite hobby?
I'm a runner. My favorite hobby is to get up in the morning and get out, no matter what the weather is. If you have the good gear, you can run in the rain, in the snow, or as one of my mentors used to say, there's no such thing as bad weather, only weak people. So that's my hobby.
Mm-hmm. What qualities do you most value in people?
Honesty and integrity, period. That's the basis for everything.
Mm-hmm. If not a military man or diplomat, who would you like to be?
I'm so happy doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. I like being a grandfather, love being an ambassador, love to engage with the people of Turkmenistan.
What are the main pros and cons of your character, plus and minus?
I'm energetic. I get energy from people.
Are you getting energy from me now?
I am. That's why I was looking forward to this interview. If there's a negative side, I'm so energetic, I think sometimes I wear people out.
You are giving energy.
Yes. It goes both ways.
Okay. What is happiness?
I'm sorry?
What is happiness for you?
Happiness for me is helping people reach their full potential.
Mm-hmm. What you don't like the most in life?
Oh, that's the hardest question anybody's asked me in a long time. I'm going to give you a very different answer. I think you have to embrace everything in life, the good and the bad. Obviously, you hope for good moments, but I've been around a long time, and I've seen some hard times, and I don't shy. I do not. Let me start again. I do not shy away from hard things. So I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but embrace life, the good and the bad.
Thank you. Is there any ability that you don't have, but you'd like to?
I'm studying Turkmen. I have a tutor. It's hard. I want to be able to speak Turkmen.
Okay. What is American dream?
The American dream is to be free to reach your full potential, to set your sights on a goal, and even if you fail, to know that you were given an opportunity to try.
3 individuals that you admire. They can be historic or...
Yeah, well, my father for sure. A simple man, as I expressed to you, never even graduated from high school, but he had wisdom. He was a loving, caring man. My mentor in life was a famous general, General Dick Myers, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, our Chief of Defense. I worked with him on 3 occasions. He was a humble, selfless leader, and I admire him greatly. The third person I admire is collectively the women in my family. I came from a family of strong women, my mother and my aunts, who were the matriarchs of the family. So much of my own character traits come from them.
What are you most afraid of? Or let's change the question. Is there anything you are afraid of?
I know you're looking for snap answers. I sleep well at night. I try my best. I know sometimes I will fall short, because I know I will fall short sometimes. I'm afraid of those moments. But in terms of physical danger or of encounters with people.
Thank you. What rules the world today?
The fewer rules, the better. Oh, what rules the world today?
Yes.
Okay, let's start over. Let's rewind that. What rules the world today? Technology, I think, is the obvious answer. I'm trying to be interesting and give you something besides the obvious answer, but really, we're stuck to our phones, we're stuck to our computers. There's a lot of positive in that, but I think we're missing human interaction. We need more of that.
Yes, agree. Your personal mission in this life?
My mission in life is to help people reach their full potential. As I said before, that's what drives me. I suppose that everybody wonders, is there a point in life where you would violate the most closely held principles? If you were faced with a life and death situation, for instance. I hope not. I think that living a principled life is dear to me, and I think is my North Star, my guiding light. And I know that as a public servant, as a representative of my country, I can never compromise on my principles. That would betray the trust given to me.
And the last question. If you had a chance to meet yourself, a 20-year-old young boy, and you could give him only one message, what would you tell him?
When you come to the edge of a cliff and you look to the other side and you wonder, should I jump? Jump. It's not as far as you think.
Great answer. Thank you. Dear viewers, today we had a talk with Ambassador of United States to Turkmenistan, Mr. Matthew Klimow. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A real pleasure.
Thank you.